Hi, welcome to Louisville Now. I'm Gary White from Metro TV, and we are at the historic Brown Theater because we're going to be talking about the 100th anniversary celebrations and history of this historic theater. I'm here with Christian Adelberg, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Kentucky Performing Arts. Thank you for talking with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, as you can see behind us, this is still an active theater.
Yes. This past weekend, the Louisville Ballet did a production of Dracula, and Teardown is going on right now.
All right. So for 100 years, things have been going on inside this theater. And let's go right into the history of this. So it was built in 1925?
Yes. The Brown Theater's been a fixture on West Broadway, at 315 West Broadway, for 100 years. But the story of the Brown Theater actually begins about 50 years earlier and a couple of blocks over at Macaulay's Theater. Now, Macaulay's Theater opened in 1873 on what was then Walnut Street. It's now Muhammad Ali Boulevard. And that was the premier theater in town. Some of the biggest performers of the day performed there, including Sarah Bernhardt, George M. Cohen, Buffalo Bill performed there. There was a young, remarkable actor, one of the best of his generation, named Edwin Booth, performed there. But his acting career was a little overshadowed by the actions of his younger brother and fellow actor, John Wilkes Booth.
Okay.
Yes.
So, a history of its own there.
Yes. But in 1925, Macaulay's Theater was closed and the building was torn down to make room for the expansion of the neighboring Starks building. And everything that was in that theater was brought here. J. Graham Brown owned the Brown Hotel next door and the Brown building, which surrounds this building, and then opened the theater that was in the lowest level of the Brown building. And rather than renaming it Macaulay's Theater 2, it was named the Brown Theater after J. Graham Brown.
But we are going to say that it did actually go back to the Macaulay Theater a little later, right?
Yes. That's part of the journey.
Yes. And we do want to mention, too, that this is still called the Brown Theater now. But the Brown that's now isn't the Brown that was then.
Correct. Yes. It was. There were a couple of name changes that happened, and then much later in the tail of the Brown, was renamed.
We'll go back to where you were then.
There we go. All right. So in 1925, October 5th, 1925, this theater opened with a performance of Puzzles of 1925 by Elsie Janis, and Elsie Janis was one of the premier actress, singer, songwriter, radio personalities of the day, and it was a musical review. Musical reviews were the Spotify playlists of their day, and the theme of that performance was about this new craze that was taking the country by storm: crossword puzzles. That were all the rage in 1925. But when the theater opened, it's based on the Music Box Theater in New York.
Okay.
And that was, it's very similar. If you've ever been to the Music Box in New York and you look around and go, oh my gosh, it's the Brown Theater. That's because the Brown Theater was based on that. Okay. So the stage is 40 feet by 40 feet in size, which is equal to the size of any stage in New York, with the exception of the Hippodrome.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yep. So, yes, opened October 5th, 1925. Of course, timing is everything. Little did anybody know that we were just 4 years away from the stock market crash in 1929. The Great Depression followed, and with that, touring theatrical productions unfortunately just kind of dried up. There was just no money to do that. So this theater was converted to a movie theater. It was leased to the Fourth Avenue Amusement Company and converted into a movie theater. And it ran as a movie theater from 1930 until 1962, when it was converted back to live theatrical productions.
Okay.
Yep. On that journey, in 1959, while it was a movie theater, this was the location for the local premiere of the movie adaptation of Porgy and Bess. Unfortunately, Louisville was segregated at that time, and 15 African-American students who had purchased their tickets through the mail came to the theater to see it and were turned away. And that was one of the incidents that led to a protest that began Christmas Day, 1959, and lasted until 1963, when segregation finally ended in Louisville.
So they were protesting for that 4-year span.
Yes. This photo that you have up was from the Christmas Day protest when it began in 1959. Wow. And the young man on the left on the far left with the hat and the trench coat, that is Raoul Cunningham. He was then 16 years old and later went on to serve for many years as president of the Louisville branch of the NAACP.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's great history.
Yeah.
Okay. So the protests were going on. We also want to mention, wasn't it like 50 years later, the city came back to commemorate those activities when, for the 50th anniversary of the desegregation of the school system, right?
Yes, yeah, to commemorate when segregation ending in Louisville, for the 50th anniversary of that in 2013, the event was held here, given its prominence and the importance of what happened at the Brown Theater during the Civil Rights Movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in the 60s.
Yes, so we're, 1962, it was converted back to live theater. There was a gala reopening, not really a rededication. Well, it was a rededication. Back to live theater, featuring performances by the Louisville Orchestra, Kentucky Opera, and the Louisville Ballet, or as it was known at that time, the Louisville Civic Ballet Company.
Okay.
Yes. And then go forward a bit to 1972, and there was another renovation, and the theater was renamed again. This time, it was renamed the Macaulay Theater.
Okay.
Harkening back to the original 1925 move.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And it remained the Macaulay Theater for many years, until 1998, when the Fund for the Arts purchased the building. The Fund for the building was in pretty rough shape, and the Fund for the Arts purchased the building and took the lead on the fundraising to refurbish the building. It was a $4.3 million restoration project, and with that, they were able to get new rigging, new computerized marquee system, new HVAC system. You know, everything about the theater was once again top notch.
Right.
During that process, the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts had opened on West Main Street, and during that interim period, the Kentucky Center had stepped in to help out with booking and management and ticket sales, which, you know, the Fund for the Arts and the owners before that, which was Louisville Board of Education, were just not able to do that. So that's where the Kentucky Center first came into the picture. Well, this was around 1990, and the Kentucky Center continued to manage for those many years. And then in 2018, Fund for the Arts sold the building, and the Kentucky Performing Arts Foundation purchased it. So then officially became part of the Kentucky Performing Arts family of venues, which is the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts, Old Forester's Paris Town Hall, and the Brown Theater, of course.
Okay. So when did the W.L. Lyons Brown name come in?
So that was in 1998 as part of the rechristening.
Okay.
Yes. Of the Brown, when the building as part of the building restoration, it was renamed the W.L. Lyons Brown Theater. Interestingly, no relation to J. Graham Brown. J. Graham Brown was an Indiana native, longtime Louisville resident, and the Brown family, of course, the Brown family, you know, have strong Commonwealth roots.
Right.
Yes. So it was reopened as the W.L. Lyons Brown Theater, and that name continues to this day.
So we have two Browns, the Macaulay. Or any other names in there?
I think there's a partridge in a pear tree somewhere.
There you go. Okay. And also, as we've said, behind us we have some people that were working on the ballet that has been here recently.
Yes.
That kind of has a long history in this facility as well, then.
Oh, absolutely, yes. This building has been a home for every arts group in town. The majors, if you will. Louisville Orchestra, Louisville Ballet, Kentucky Opera, Stage One Family Theaters performed here. Louisville Theatrical Association / PNC Broadway in Louisville has performed here. But there's also, you know, so many other performance groups in town, so many other arts groups in town. Louisville Leopard Percussionists has their annual big gig here. The U of L Step Show is held every year in this building. Yes, there's a long list of community groups that call this home.
And you actually did have a celebration as well for the 100th anniversary.
Yes. The official birth date was October 5th, but we weren't able to get the group in on that date. So on September 28th, we brought in a group called Choir. And what this group does is they teach the audience how to sing in unison, which is wonderful. And it was a Queen show. where they led everybody in a Queen sing-along that culminated in one of the largest, I think, one of the largest group sings of Happy Birthday. Because I don't know if you know this, but the Happy Birthday song was written in Louisville.
Yes.
Yes, the Hill Sisters, Louisville natives, wrote that song.
Fantastic. So again, a lot of great history that's been going on for 100 years here at the Brown Theater and is continuing to go on. It's going to go on hopefully for at least another 100 years, right? 100
Oh
more,
yes,
right?
absolutely. If you want to see what's coming up at the Brown Theater and all of the venues, if you visit KentuckyPerformingArts.org, you can see the full calendar of events.
Okay. Well, there's a whole lot more to know about the Brown Theater. And when we get back, we're going to talk with Guy, who is the head of facilities here at the Brown Theater. So stay with us here on Louisville Now.
Hi, I'm Alan Heinzman, chef de cuisine here at the Brown Hotel, and today I'm going to be making our world-famous hot brown. We begin this dish with 2 slices of Texas toast, cut like that, very nice and thick and toasty. 2 quarters of a nice vine-ripe tomato, 7 ounces of fresh turkey breast, roasted. And we top that with our special Mornay sauce. The Mornay sauce is cream, Parmesan cheese, flour, and butter. All the good stuff. And then we'll take that and we'll sprinkle on paprika for color and flavor. At this point, this will go in the oven for about 10 minutes and we'll bake off. Get that? Into the oven. Then the magic of TV. We have our finished hot brown. And then when it comes out of the oven, we finish it with our shredded Parmesan Reggiano and fresh chopped parsley. And that is our world famous hot brown.
How many of these have you fixed? Have you fixed a few?
Oh, thousands, I would say. During Derby time alone, we serve hundreds and hundreds. The beautiful thing about the hot brown is that if you came in today, you would get the same hot brown that you would get 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. We keep it exactly the same and keep the tradition alive. It's the simplicity of the dish that has kept its popularity for so long.
Welcome back to Louisville Now. We are at the historic Brown Theater, and right now I'm joined by Will Richards, who is the Vice President of Facilities for the Kentucky Performing Arts of all your campus venues, right?
Correct.
And one of them being the Brown Theater.
One of the Brown Theater, Old Forster's Peristyle Hall, and then of course the Kentucky Center.
So as we started to say, we're celebrating 100 years of the Brown Theater here. And there's a whole lot of history, and Christian kind of shared some of the history of the names and everything that's going on here, the riots, everything there. But we want to talk more as well about the architecture, some of the unique elements of the theater, the performances. So that's why we're going to talk with you. Sound good?
Perfect.
Okay, so let's get started. If you walk into the Brown Theater, how would you describe this venue?
We call it a jewel. It is a well-appointed, plush. It's a throwback to kind of yesterday. In our renovation, we made sure that we went back to the appointments that you would have felt and seen in 1925. So you do, for the most part, feel that sense.
Absolutely. And some of the things here are actually from 1925, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Particularly, there are 2 things I think that we're pointing out, right? The chandelier right?
Correct. The chandeliers are original to the facility, and there are actually four. There's two in the mirrored areas by the seating, and then there's two overhead in the main auditorium that are original to the building.
And then also the stained glass
Yep.
aisle numbers, is that what they're called?
Exit signs are
Exit
numbered,
signs.
and all of those are original as well, including out in the lobby. The exit signs in the lobby are original from 1925.
That's fantastic. And there's such character that they
Yes.
have.
Yeah.
But even just the design in here, can you tell us a little bit about what went into creating a facility like this?
Well, I think Christian went over that in 1925, J. Graham Brown wanted to make sure that tours from New York could make it here. So he built this theater to a size that would fit productions in New York. So the fan shape of the theater is a little bit larger than, it's a little wider than you would typically see maybe. But again, he had to fit it between the alley behind us and the front street. Or actually, it was the back of his 10-story office building. So he built it in there, and it kind of creates this fan shape. The appointments in, like I said, are pretty much original to 1925. Along the way, in a renovation, most of the surfaces were painted white. I think it was either in the 62 or 72 renovation. I think it was the 72, where it was really kind of whitewashed. It looked nice, but it had no character. In 1998, when after the Fund for the Arts it had been sold to the Fund for the Arts, in that renovation becoming the Brown Theater again, we went back to a color palette of, I think, 22 or 23 colors throughout the theater and the lobbies, which is much more in line with what you would have seen back in the 20s.
It's fantastic. We're going to mention again, behind us, we do have the ballet.
Yes.
Is clearing out.
Yep.
Yeah, stage hands, because we did have the ballet recently here. But in a facility like this, kind of keeping that constant change of what's going on and all the different events, but keeping up the facilities looking so nice.
Yep.
That takes a lot of
It
effort,
does.
I'm sure.
It does. And so the fund, again, they were sold the theater in 1998 and renamed W.L. Lyons Brown Theater. And they owned it up until the Kentucky Center purchased it in 2018, I believe it was. But during that time, the fund was very, very intentional about improvements of the theater. And they put in a lot of work and a lot of funding to continue the renovations in the building. And each year there was something to help improve the building. So all along the way, from different finishes, making sure the facility was fully sprinkled, which at the time it didn't need to be, but we needed to update to that. When that work took place, we had to scaffold the entire auditorium and to sprinkle it. While the scaffolding was up, it was a good time to help continue the finishes in the auditorium. So all of the overlay and gold leaf you see in the theater was done at that time. And there was just a whole another layer of improvement in the paint that took it just to the next level with a much deeper finish and gold leafing on all the detail. So it jumps back at you.
Absolutely. And you're doing a great job. Looks great. But why people come to the theater is for the performances.
Yeah.
And there's a long history of famous people who have performed here over this 100 years, right?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a few?
I can. I have a list because it's long and I'll jump through it, but in no particular order, really. Helen Hayes, Tallulah Bankhead, Myrna Loy, Don Amici, Henry Fonda, Itzhak Perlman, Ned Beatty, Edwin Robinson, Mikhail Baryshnikov, Gloria Swanson, Carol Channing, Betty Davis, Peter Fonda, Yo-Yo Ma, Igor Stravinsky, Hal Holbrook, Victor Borg, Red Hot Chili Peppers, B.B. King, Etta James, Rodney Crowell, John Prine, The Replacements, Temptations, Four Tops, Fish, Kevin Hart, Dave Brubeck, Chick Corea, Bela Fleck. It goes on and on.
Yes. How many have you seen?
The second half.
Okay. More modern ones, right?
More modern
Yes.
ones, you know.
And even if you didn't get a chance to see Tallulah Bankhead or any of those individuals in person, there are some caricatures that you can see
There
in
are.
the lobby.
Yes. George Joseph, or Joseph George, can't remember two first names. He was the illustrator at the Courier Journal, and he was hired to come in the late 60s and early 70s to do the caricatures of all of the big names that came to play during that time. So there are probably 25 or so caricatures that were done, airbrushed caricatures that are in our hallway of all of those big names of the day, and a number of these are represented.
And there's also a lot of memorabilia for some of the other actors. So
Yep.
you need to just, when you come, be sure you spend some time in the lobby experiencing that history as well. And one other thing that's a really interesting history note here is a Broadway show actually debuted here in Louisville,
It
correct?
did. It was
and
built
at the Brown Theater.
Correct. It was built and debuted here. And that was, it had two names. As a working name, Tommy Toon was developing a Broadway show here, and it was Busker's Alley or Stage Door Johnny was the two working names. And I think it went out as Stage Door Johnny. So they built it here over a month or more, and the first two performances here, 2 or 3 performances, was donated to help for the renovations that were to come. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great. But that wasn't the only Broadway show that premiered in the Kentucky Performing Arts venue here, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
And another one was...
Jagged Little Pill, which debuted at the Whitney Hall. This was last year, I believe. It was developed here, brought back to Broadway, developed here, and put out and moved out from here.
So a lot of exciting things
It
that go
was
on here
very
in Louisville,
exciting.
right? So as we've been recording, as we said, there's people behind us doing some work. You may have been hearing some odd noises, but I don't think that was the ghost. But there is a ghost that actually is housed here. Is that correct?
Well, I cannot deny or say otherwise, but yeah, there's some stories about ghosts here. The main one, there are 2 ghosts, and Clyde Luther, who was a volunteer here and worked with the ballet for many years, as we were opening in 1998, he did an extensive history of the theater, all the way back to Macaulay's Theater, and he gave that to us as a present. And so he did a lot of research, and the research he found on ghosts was that there was an opera singer and a theater employee that fell in love, and the love was not to be, and the distraught singer shot her or hung herself off the pin rail, and then the employee shot himself, and so that never came to be. And the story is that she's in a flowing white gown and he in a tux. And so from stagehands primarily, who are here all the time, we do have some instances where they have felt or seen something. So
Have you ever?
I cannot support or deny that. Myself, I can say I have not. I'm not maybe open to that, but I have worked with some stagehands that did support that information. A former manager saw someone at the upstage door, and a lot of it is you see the image and then the image is gone. And so he saw someone at the upstage door, and he knows who's in the building, and then he looked back and they were gone. And he told me that he ran and jumped over the pit and went up the aisle because he was ready to be out of here. The other was a cleaning person who was here, and this is while I was here, cleaning down front after a show, and he looked up and saw a woman in the balcony, looked back and they were gone, and he too ran out the front door and did not come back. So there are several of those instances that I've heard.
Okay. So there are possibly some residents
Possibly.
here at the Brown Theater. Over the 100 years, you'd have to expect something, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Will, for speaking with me. It's been Will Richards, who is the Vice President for Facilities here for the Kentucky Performing Arts, and one of them being the Brown Theater. Again, it's 100 years of the Brown Theater. So thank you for sharing that history with us here on Louisville Now.
You're very welcome.